This is KUGAN CASSIUS for Rifle TV in association with Macklin's Gym Marbella. We're in New York, post-fight press conference, Golovkin versus Lemieux. With me, I've got very relaxed Tom Loeffler.
Very tired, KUGAN, but it's always great to see you. It's great to see all the international media. This was a huge international event and international success. My friend Eddie Hearn was here.
Skipped out on the post-fight press conference.
Sorry?
Skipped
out, yeah. I told him I was going to ask him a question about Kovalev if he came, and I think he went to the fight but didn't come to the press conference. But it's always good to see Eddie as well. I'm friendly with Eddie. He does a great job in the UK. His fighters, every time he sends one of his fighters over here to the US, it seems like they win. So he's on quite a bit of a roll right now.
Let's talk about tonight. 8 rounds it took before the referee stopped it. Was Lemieux worse than or better than what you expected tonight?
We knew he was a big puncher. I think he was more durable. Abel had predicted, without any disrespect to Lemieux, he had predicted I think 4 or 5 rounds, but he had predicted 4 or 5 just action-packed rounds. Lemieux took a lot of shots from Gennady, and you could see that Gennady had to be careful because he threw a lot of bombs tonight. Lemieux did. They both did, but Gennady had to throw his jab a lot more than he normally does to control Lemieux and to keep him off balance and to keep him from loading up with the big punches. So I have to say Lemieux showed a lot of heart and the ability to take, absorb a lot of Gennady's punches. You saw with Martin Murray. Gennady dropped him with a body shot, and I saw that he was breaking down Lemieux with his body shots. And but we have to give Lemieux a lot of credit. He really hung in there, and he really came to win the fight. I just don't think there's anyone at 160 that's on Gennady's level. And it's 21 knockouts in a row right now. That's what the fans respond to, not just the American fans, but fans across the globe. Boxing fans like knockouts. They like entertainment. And every time Gennady steps in the ring, fans are guaranteed. They're not guaranteed a knockout, but they're guaranteed an exciting performance. And there's a high chance of a knockout when you have 21 knockouts in a row.
Bernard Hopkins compared Golovkin's jab tonight to that of a jackhammer. Would you go along with that?
I would agree with that. I mean, Abel trains. He's got a very specific regimen in his Big Bear training camp, and I've seen Gennady hurt a lot of guys with the jab, and that's that was really what he had to do to control and to keep Lemieux off balance. I mean, when Lemieux's got these dominant performances over Rosado, who's a quality fighter, and Njicom, who's a former WBO champion. I mean, that puts Lemieux up there, and so I think that definitely anyone that questions Gennady's opposition, that it's a matter of just getting the fighters in the ring, and we're very appreciative that Golden Boy, Lemieux, I Have Tiger Management, that they all agreed to take the fight, and I think it was a success story for both fighters. I'm sure the Canadian pay-per-view did very well. The pay-per-view over here was on BoxNation on the UK, internationally over 120 countries, and it sold out Madison Square Garden. So when you have that type of event, there's really no losers on the fight because there's so much spotlight on all the fighters. Look at Chocolatito Gonzalez. I mean, this was his second co-feature. But he's at the point where he's going to start headlining these shows because fans gravitate towards his style. And he had a lot of fans in the arena. He had a lot of fans himself in the arena tonight. Toriano Johnson became the IBF mandatory now. Luis Ortiz, had a big knockout. So it was a great overall night of boxing and something that we wanted to provide value to the fans with.
When they asked Gennady about potential fights with Canelo, Cotto, his response to it was that he wants to unify and get all the belts.
That's correct.
Now there's 2 belts left. You will see what happens.
1.5.
you'll see what happens on the 21st as in regards to Canelo Cotto.
Yeah.
If you feel like you may have to wait there, would you search for the winner of Saunders and Lee on the 19th of December? Is that another option?
It's definitely an option, and we give a lot of credit to Andy Lee. I can honestly say he was one of the few top middleweights that had agreed to fight Gennady last year. That fight didn't happen because of the unfortunate circumstance of Gennady's father passing away. But since then, Andy won the WBO title, made a couple of defenses, and has definitely risen. You know, his profile has risen a lot. So that's a much bigger fight now if they come together as two champions fighting each other. So that fight, the winner of Andy Lee and Saunders, is a big fight for Gennady. You got Quillin and Jacobs fighting. That would be a big fight, especially here in New York. But clearly the focus is on the winner of Cotto-Canelo, because he wants the WBC title, and he wants to fight the winner. He wants to prove that he's the best middleweight champion. We can't force him to fight, but the WBC has their mandate that if the winner doesn't fight him, Gennady will become the WBC champion.
By the sounds of it, and listening to him, some of his comments there, doesn't sound like he's in a hurry to leave the middleweight division at all.
No, he comfortably makes the weight. I mean, we had a 30-day weigh-in for the WBC. He was 165. He actually went up for the 7-day weigh-in. He had a breakfast and he went up a half a pound, for the 7-day weigh-in. But that's really when he starts his training camp. That's what he walks around at, about 165. He always comes in at 159. This time I think it was 159.4, but he makes the weight very comfortably.
So was the issue really wasn't with the weight, and was it in regards to really not being able to get the fights you wanted at middleweight? So you may have thought before that you had to move up to get those fights.
That's a good question, KUGAN, is because when we were talking about fighting Chavez at 168, when we were talking about fighting Froch at 168, that wasn't that he was going to leave the division. It was just we couldn't get another champion at that time to fight him. If Quillin had fought him back then, or if one of the champions had fought him back then, that clearly would take the priority of going up and fighting one of these other big names at 168. Since then, Chavez has fought, Carl is retired. Hopefully Eddie can work on bringing Carl out of retirement when Carl sees this type of a performance and this type of selling out the arena and on pay-per-view over here in the States. I think that's a big incentive, but it's always been his priority to unify the division. We were talking about going up or going down if he couldn't get one of the champions to fight him, but there's no reason for him to leave outside of getting a higher profile name.
I don't know if you saw in the week, Chris Eubank made some comments that he believes his son would beat Gennady today. He's mentioned Gennady before, but the comments are relating to his son beating him today. What do you make of them comments, first of all?
Well, it sounds like Chris is very confident in his son. He might be more confident than his son is, but you got to give him a lot of credit there. Chris was an entertainer, probably still is an entertainer. His son is a world-class fighter, and you can't take anything away from that. The other thing about Gennady that makes him special is he doesn't care where he fights. I told Eddie he would come to the UK to fight Froch over there. I think now, with this performance and this event, fight, over here against someone like Eubanks or Froch would be a huge fight. But if it made more sense financially to do it in the UK, he has no hesitation. In fact, that's the plan, always to have one international fight, so that would fit in nicely, just depending what happens with Cotto and Canelo. But the more belts that Gennady accumulates, the easier it'll be to get some other high-profile names in the ring with him.
Just finally, Toreno Johnson became mandatory to Gennady's IBF title that
Correct.
he just won.
He won a new title and got a new mandatory in the same day. That's correct.
When do you think the IBF will enforce that mandatory on him?
My understanding is that the winner of tonight's fight between Gennady and Lemieux has 9 months to face his mandatory. So that's the answer there. I mean, you got to give Toriano a lot of respect. He had a great fight against Curtis Stevens. He had a great performance tonight against O'Kane. So you got to give Turiano. Turiano is clearly, he's at the top of the IBF ratings. He earned the #1 spot. He earned the mandatory right to challenge Gennady now. So that fight would definitely is going to be in the works. Coming up in the next year as well.
All right, Tom. Listen, I'm not going to take too much of your time. It's very late, and sure everyone wants to get off. So
say hi to all the UK boxing fans for us. We're going to come over there again and do another press conference like you did when we did the Martin Murray fight. Certainly a very important boxing market and a very important market for Triple G's global brand. And you have some, the UK produces a lot of great middleweights over there. So I think you'll see Gennady in the near future coming over to fight in the UK.
Certainly hope so.
Good.
Tom Loeffler, thanks for talking to RFS TV, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Thanks,
Thank you very much.
All right.